Good evening and welcome to the Mancunian Way. We are back with another Thursday night chat, another match preview. My name is Martin. I'm your host, joined by fellow channel members, Ozzy and Pat. Good evening, gentlemen. How are you?
Good evening. Good morning, good evening, Martin. All's well over here.
Good. Apart from you going to work in 20 minutes.
Don't mind.
And also, we have got Newcastle representation as well. As you all know, Pete, PD Proudlock, friend of the channel, returns. How are you, Pete?
Very well, thanks, Martin.
Good. And we also have Tony, who is new to the channel from It's All Black and White TV. How are you?
Yeah, not too bad at all. Thank you for having me on.
Good. And by the way, you have, if you look in the descriptions below, all details, channel links are in the description as well. So let's kick off. By the way, Rich is not here yet. Rich will be here. He's just late. Come on, it's Rich. We know Rich is late, and you all call me that I'm late. And he's here as we speak. Manchester City's first home game of the season, Newcastle United. What a game to kick off at the Etihad Stadium. We'll start with our guest first. Pete, how are you feeling coming into this one?
I'm really looking forward to this game. I really am. Both teams coming off the back of wins, big wins as well. And I believe we can come down to Etihad, give you a game, and get something out of the game as well. I'm feeling we can do that. I really believe, because of how we are proving our squad each season. And it's a big game on Saturday. Massive game.
It is. I think it's a massive game for both sides. Tony, how are you feeling after obviously a great win against a much fancied Aston Villa this season?
Yeah, well, that win took me by surprise because I actually said it would be a tight game, 2-1 to us, but obviously it turned out to be a 5-1 win. Everything we touched just went in and we were clinical. That is the thing, clinical. And, even when Callum Wilson's shot was saved by Martinez, you could see he was disappointed not to have hit the target. The same with Isak as well, who could have had a hat-trick. But, we're flying. And to start the season off with a huge win like that, against a great Villa side, by the way, who've got some good players in that team and a good manager under Emery. So, yeah, I thought it was a great game. And I'm looking forward to Saturday. I think it's going to be a cracking game Saturday. I mean, look, last season you came to our place and it was a 3-3 draw, Pep Guardiola even said after the game, he was asked about it by Sky. Well, last season it was 4-0. He said, that's a different game. He says, this is a different season. But again, it's going to be a cracking game. And who knows which way it's going to go. But I do fancy us to get something out of the game. Maybe sneak a win. But it's certainly not going to be last season when we lost 2-0 at the Etihad, we just come off the back of a Carabao Cup defeat. So all in fairness, it was the wrong game at the wrong time. But this time around, I do think we can come down and get something from the Etihad, whether it's a win or a draw. I'll take a point now, in all honesty. But against Burnley, yes, different team, but you're coming up against a team like Newcastle now, which is a totally different game altogether. And your defence is going to have to be on good solid ground on Saturday. Plus, well done for your win last night, although it went all the way to penalties right to the end. And it depends who plays on Saturday for you, because obviously your players will have just probably getting back today and they probably won't do any training until tomorrow.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think it will be a very, very difficult game. Good evening, Rich. How are you?
Good evening. Not too bad. Well, it's good morning.
Mate.
It's 6:30 in the morning. How enthusiastic can you be?
Me and Ozzy are just like, yeah, we're having a go, and you and Pat are like just Pat, I know you have to shoot, mate, soon because obviously you've got the joys of work. First home game of the season. I mean, obviously, there's been a lot of chat on last night, and the problem is that team last night, I think, will be very different on Saturday. Obviously, we've got Bernardo Silva to come back in, Ruben Diaz to come back in, Julian Alvarez will possibly come back into the 11. What are your thoughts on the game?
Yeah, I felt like the lineup from yesterday's game in Athens was partly down to having one eye on this weekend's fixture. Hence why he kept, John Stones away, kept Ruben Diaz away. Still good to see them travel at least, but yeah, look, this is probably the big matchup of the weekend. Oil Classico, Battle of the Petrol Stations, Abu Dhabi, whatever you want to call it, it doesn't really matter. This is the way you want to start a season, and I'm glad we're playing Newcastle this early on. I think we always say at the start of a season, what teams do you want to play, or you want to get out of the way early? And I think at the end of the day, it's like I kind of wish we were playing away at St James's Park. I'd rather play them early in the season than late in the season. But look, Newcastle are showing that they're out of the blocks early, ready to go, and we've got to be there too. And well, I still feel we're still trying to get out of the summer sluggishness, you might say. I feel confident we can get a result as well, but Newcastle proved a lot to me that they are going to be very, very strong this season. And going forward, I mean, I would happily take a point from this. If history suggests we do tend to take a point from like the first 2 or 3 games of every season. So we take time, and I've always said I'm not really too concerned about bursting out of the blocks early in the season, because I always feel like if we're in striking distance come Christmas or January, then it doesn't really matter about trying to get a 5 or 10 point lead early in the season. But look, I'm looking forward to this game. I think it'll be fantastic. 8 p.m. on a Saturday is a bit weird. I'm sure everybody else in the chat, especially those in the UK, think it's a bit of a nuisance, and logistically, especially for away fans, it's not going to be the most not the most ideal to get to, even if you're coming from from the northeast to the northwest. But even for over here, it's going to be 5 a.m. on a Sunday, and there's going to be a lot of snooze buttons being smashed.
Yeah. One is where Jose, would you take a point out of this on Saturday?
Honestly, I'm quite impressed with Newcastle. I think their transfer business has been smart. I think they've got a good manager. They're ahead of schedule in some respects of where I think, when we were taken over originally, Newcastle have jumped a couple of hoops. Have been able to kind of follow City's blueprint of our mistakes, not signing massive big superstars, signing very quality players that can do a job for them. So they are a team that you have to respect, and they do worry me. And right now, I think if you ask me where I take a point right now, I probably would, if I'm honest, because I don't think we're at our best. Last night's game wasn't brilliant, and as we've discussed previously, that back line does worry me. It's not the back line we're going to see for the rest of the season, because we've had some injury concerns. Stones and Diaz have been out. Both of those should be back hopefully, but they are going to be a little bit, not at full pace, not ready. And for this game, they're going to have to be, because I expect Newcastle to bring it really for this game. And why wouldn't they? Because they've had a good pre-season. I think it's the thing that I thought was quite interesting. There's been a bit of chat I've seen today about it. I know TalkSport mentioned it about the whole time of the show, and Pat, you were alluding to it before as well. But I was quite interested that the time of this being a Saturday evening, and we've just only played last night, and we're expected now to play Saturday evening. I think it's not particularly great for the players. I don't think it's particularly fair. A lot of people would say stop whinging and lose the games. This is what comes with success, and yes, it does. But so does burnout for these players. I don't think the Premier League are looking after the well-being of these players, and that's the only gripe really I've got about this. But like I said before, it's going to be a great game. I'm looking forward to it in some respects, but I would take a draw right now.
Yeah, I mean, Pep Guardiola has alluded to it. The Premier League, thank you very much. You've done us a huge favour. La Liga support their teams. Sevilla playing on Monday night at 6 p.m. And the Premier League have totally screwed us over and thrown us in Saturday at 8 p.m. Madness. Absolute madness that we're playing 3 games within a week, within the first week of the season. It's total. Heads gone. And then they wonder why there's so many injuries. You've had Courtois down with ACLs, De Bruyne's out, Julian Timber's out there. It's too much football. It's getting beyond the joke. But sadly, money rules the roost, and fans, nobody gives a toss about. Sadly. Rich, how are you feeling about Saturday?
Well, listening to you lot, I'd start be worrying about relegation.
I've not said anything
honestly,
yet. I've kept
no. Honestly, if this was Burnley against Newcastle at home, Burnley today would be saying maybe we'll settle for a point. And I think if City are saying we'll settle for a point, that is not a mentality that Pep or anyone in the squad will have. And it's interesting that we're turning into 1980s fans again. You're all turning into old men like me, because at the moment what I'm seeing for City fans is a meltdown that we haven't, done anything this summer. A meltdown that we've got no creativity in the squad, despite the fact we've got the likes of Foden, Alvarez, Grealish, world-class players. And now we're talking about settling for a home point. Now, to me, it's mad, because I'm listening to Arsenal fans saying they've got the league in the bag, they're brilliant and amazing. And yet I look at that City team and we've still got world-class players in every position. We're worried about a defence that has Aymeric Laporte as its 6th choice centre-back at the moment, who I think would walk into most sides in Europe. Phenomenal player, and he's down at 6th choice. So I think there's this bit of a overreaction. I'm not sure whether it's.
I feel like City-itis has come back. We won the treble. City-itis has rolled back.
Yeah, and it's like, we might scrape 38 points this season. So the one big disadvantage we have is we started training 10 days later than Newcastle. So that is a bit of fitness, and that's why 3 games in a week almost doesn't worry me, because we're 10 days behind, so we probably need extra games in the legs, extra training in the legs, and that's probably our biggest danger. But I have a feeling that we'll just play reasonably tight, and we've got world-class defenders, and I think we'll probably play fairly tight, not give up too many mistakes, and I think it'll be a close game. But I wouldn't settle. I'd settle for a 1-0 win. I wouldn't settle for a draw. Now it might be a draw. Newcastle come out, they play tactically well, and they are 10 days fitter, then they'll give us a really really good game. I've been since Martin, since Howe took over, I've been a real supporter of what Newcastle have done, how they're doing it, and how the energy levels in the club, in the players, the tactical nous in the team, and them being a solid defensive side. But we need to aim to win every single home game this season, and we're going into a game with players like Haaland and Rodri, and who I think possibly close to the 2 best players in European football at the moment, and therefore I don't think we should be quite as down and dour and hoping for draws as I'm seeing from this.
I'm presuming Ozzy and Pat haven't watched our stream from last night where we were like, "So with everyone, why is everyone just won a cup and everyone's got into meltdown?" Like, what?
Yeah, it's there's been I
haven't watched it all, but I feared the worst.
Yeah, I think everyone we need to keep our feet on the ground, and we need to you don't celebrate success till it's happened. I mean, Arsenal fans and Liverpool fans have celebrated winning the Premier League after the Community Shield the last 2 years, and I think we do that. And to be fair, I think 99% of Newcastle fans are very much the same mentality, feet on the ground, appreciating good progress. But at the same time, after winning a treble with the players we have, we shouldn't be doom and gloom. That to me is a bit crazy.
Can I ask Pete and Tony? Are you? Because obviously you're listening to this for the first time. And by the way, I'm totally with them. I think the difference between it's going to be a very hard game on Saturday. Are you surprised you're hearing City fans after the treble sort of like go into games a bit fearful? And I don't mean, you know, I'm sort of like if your fans had come off the back of a treble and they'd won 2 games and they'd only played a bit so-so, would they be having a meltdown? Or would they just be like buzzing because they won a treble and, you know, it's 2 games in? So I'm trying to establish how you're feeling from an outsider's point of view, listening to City fans moan at a kind of position they're in a way. Because I'm rich, I'm flabbergasted by it. Really am.
Yeah. I mean, look, I look at it and I think, okay, fair enough, you've got De Bruyne out for a few months, which is going to be a blow because, you know, he does make you taking away, you know, one of the best passes of football in world football. But you have got a very strong squad. So that strong squad sees you through a season. And yes, we're starting to get a little bit of strength and depth now, which is absolutely great. But we've got to work under constraints of FFP, unfortunately, because our former owner, you know, mismanaged the club. And I don't like mentioning that man's name. But, so we're playing catch-up to the likes of City, Liverpool, Man United, Arsenal, Chelsea. But the thing is, though, it is going to be a hard game for City. And if that was us, we had come off a treble and then we had won the first 2 games, then I would think to myself, I wouldn't be so much worried, but I'd be thinking, right, okay, the game we've got on Saturday is going to be difficult, you know, and that's what you got to look at. I mean, you look at the way we took apart Villa, the way we were so clinical in front of goal. You look at that straight away and you think, right, okay, this is going to be a tough game because we've just come off a 5-1 win. You've beat Burnley 3-0. You've won the cup on penalties. So I kind of get where some of your fans are coming from, but I wouldn't be too doom and gloom about it, you know, and too downbeat because, you know, you should be ecstatic you've won a treble and you've won the Super Cup as well. So, you know, and you're probably odds on again to win the Premier League this season. I don't know about you, Pete.
I totally understand. I agree with you, Tony. I think where me and Rich coming from is in between respecting Newcastle will be a tough game. Then, I'll take a point because what happens when we roll into Arsenal, United, and further down the Champions League, and we're just giving up the ghost and saying we'll take a 1-0 defeat. You know what I mean? It's like we're still sitting.
Yeah.
We haven't lost at home since December. We haven't conceded more than 1 goal since January the 19th against Tottenham. Yeah. So, and that still stands to this day. I mean, you mentioned about defence. Our defence is the one thing that has stood us up. That's what got us through the treble. And because we don't concede many. We may concede chances, but that's why we've got Edison there as well. The same way you have Nick Pope. You know, it baffles when I hear people say, well, your goalkeeper made saves. Yeah, that's his job. His job is to make saves. It's, you know, to me, it's not a computer game where, you know, you're just going to flatten every team 5-0. But I'm a little bit in between. I respect Newcastle. It's going to be one hell of a tough game, no doubt about it. But I think because we're at home, I'm expecting us to turn up and put on could be the first home game and put a statement out. For me, the same way you did against Villa in your first home game.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I mean, Pete, are you surprised by it a little bit? Or
I am a little bit.
Pat just being a bit miserable and a bit fearful, and me and Rich are being too optimistic.
It's just not going to head off to work, which I got to go now anyway, guys. But again, Martin, thanks for having me on. Pete, Tony, keep flying your black and white flag everywhere, guys. All the best for the season. Big shout out to the Newcastle fans who come into the chat. We appreciate all the support as well too. Unfortunately, work beckons, and I've got to be off in less greener pastures.
Yeah. Take care, mate. And,
All the best, guys. See ya.
Enjoy work.
Cheers.
I will
Bye.
try and get through as many comments as I can. There's nearly 120 of you on already. So we will try. Like I said, we don't normally push this because it's not something we really want. Super chats out there. If you are desperate to get something out, it is there. It can be 99p, whatever you want, but it is there. Or channel membership is available as well. All goes back into the channel. Pete, go on. Sorry, are you surprised a bit?
I am a little bit, to be honest, because City fans are thinking we're at home. We haven't lost at home. I mean, I think it's been a long time since you lost a home game.
Brentford before the World
Brentford,
Cup.
yeah. Well, Brentford, yeah. So it's kind of a while, but yeah, I am just a bit shocked, but I think a lot of them are expecting us to give you the game on Saturday. But I don't think
that's what I've always said. I 100% do think it will be hard.
And I don't think City should be, in a way, coming out and saying, because they're at home. And they're thinking, well, we're good at home. We should be thinking we're the favourites to win that, in a way as well.
Because the way I look upon it is, when City have had to perform. So, for example, when we played Bayern Munich, Real Madrid, United, Arsenal at home, we put a statement out. We've gone there and we've gone, right, we're going for it. Yes, Kevin De Bruyne is missing. 100%, no doubt about that. But you're replacing him with Phil Foden and Bernardo Silva. It's not like a couple of EDS players are waltzing in here and going hello. You're talking Phil Foden and Bernardo Silva.
Yep.
You're talking Julian Alvarez did take a knock. Still played yesterday, so he may be fine. The only people who actually got out are KDB and John Stones up to now. Everyone else is fit, raring to roll. So I'm not saying Newcastle won't take anything, but Newcastle are going to have to earn it at the end. And they're going to have to do something that no other team has done in about 9 months, which is score more than a goal.
Mm-hmm.
So if Newcastle do it, you step back and you go, do you know what? Well done. You deserved it.
Mm-hmm.
But it seems like Newcastle fans are like, well, they're coming thinking we're going to win. And City fans are like, take a draw now. It's like, what? Well, where are you going to be when we're playing Arsenal? I mean, is it over last night? Or is it over? What is it the concern? Or is it KDB's simple injury?
No, I think it's a number of things, I'm honest. I'm not going into meltdown before, you
just not the short of it.
No, I respect Newcastle, is what it is, for one thing. As I said before, I respect what they're doing. I like the transfer business they've done. I like some of the players they've got right now. I like the manager. And I think all of that combined, is a good team. They're building something, which is what I respect. The other thing that worries me is, yes, our form has not been brilliant since the treble, but that's because we never start the season well. We know this historically, okay? We know this. Martin, you know this. Rich, you know this. I feel that this could be our Spurs of the last couple of seasons. Do you know what I mean? Newcastle could be the Spurs of one of those bogey teams that gets us when we're not just quite with it right now. I think when it comes to the games we've got coming up against the Arsenals and the Uniteds and the Chelseas, I think that's when we'll be in our stride. It just takes us a little bit of time to get into it. And for me, that's where I'm coming from. I'm not in meltdown. The reason I take a point right now is because I just don't feel we're quite there yet. We've had the game from last night. We're going into a game on Saturday night. I don't think it's enough time realistically. We all know this. I think, even Newcastle's, if they were in our position, would probably feel the same way. And they probably will be one day, the way things are going with them. So, like I said, for me, it is, I just don't think we're just quite there. We're not quite at our rhythm yet. Do you know what I mean? We haven't even got out of second gear for all these games. And we know City, they can turn it on. And you're right, Martin. I'm not saying Newcastle are going to walk over us. They're going to have to earn that win if they want to win over us on Saturday. Of course they are. Our players are not just going to, say, we're not just quite up for this. We're not just quite ready. I expect them to go out there and give Newcastle a game. It's just I just don't feel we're quite in the rhythm. KDB is a big miss, but we have other players that should be stepping up. And we've mentioned this several times, the likes of Foden. He really needs to nail down a position for me this season. He really needs to kind of, KDB's out, it's down to you, Phil. You've had a number of seasons now to put your boots on and do a better job than you currently are, because if you're doing the best job you could, you'd have a regular spot right now. That's where I'm coming from.
Rich?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not quite so worried about KDB. I think Gundogan's been a bigger loss for us this season than KDB getting injured. KDB had a couple of brilliant months last year, but he had months when he was out of form, and he played the last month of the season on one leg. We talk about KDB and the impact on the treble. The truth is, in the FA Cup final, he was not great. And in the Champions League final, he lasted 15 minutes, and Phil Foden was our best player replacing him, was our best player in the Champions League final. So I think there's a bit, I think the meltdown last night wasn't really about De Bruyne. It's probably the first time in a game, or serious game, in 3 years we played in midfield without Bernardo, KDB or Gundogan. Now, we normally have two of those three in midfield. One of those is gone and being replaced, and Bernardo will be back this weekend. That I'm not sitting there looking at Bernardo, Kovacic, Phil, Grealish, and thinking that's no creativity. That's a reason for a meltdown. And why do we start slowly? We start slowly because we come back to training 2 weeks behind most Premier League teams, because A, we've played later at the end of the season, and B, Pep's whole aim is on having our peak fitness February, March, April, May. And, we saw that last year. We weren't great till, about the 20th of January, after we lost to Spurs last season. And we weren't great.
Even Forest.
From a 0-0, yeah. I think we drew 0-0 with Copenhagen in October, and we were pretty bad. October, November, December, through to that Forest and Spurs period. But that's the price we pay, and Pep will change the tactics slightly to address the fact we're not super fit. We're not. We'll keep possession. We'll pass it across the back, and it will be tough for Newcastle to break down. We'll have probably 4 world-class defenders playing with Rodri and Ederson. So even if we're not at our scintillating best going forward, that's still a tough job for any attack to break down that defence.
That's my point, Rich.
And where in previous years we would get sucked in or have a damage is someone banging the ball across, and Chris Wood getting a header into the top corner. And we've got one of the biggest sides in the Premier League now. So, Newcastle are going to have to beat us with passing and pace and quality. They're not going to, I don't think, beat us by, set plays or anything else. So it's going to have to be real quality. And we've got that quality the other end too. I mean, keeping Haaland from scoring isn't easy. He may not have been in super form. And I don't buy the we're not in form thing, because it's pre-season. Really, we played one meaningful game against Burnley, and we won 3-0 away and played well. So I don't buy the not in form, because I've got no idea whether we're in form or not. We've had one game, it was good.
Yeah, not played enough games to know whether.
The rest of it's pre-season.
Last night's hard because we had so many people out. And like I said, I think if that was Newcastle last night, Bernardo Silva plays for me. Mm-hmm. I think he pushes through that, bit of an illness, stomach bug, away I go. Ethan's put here, play Ederson, Ake, Laporte, Vardio, Cancelo, Silva, Perone, Calvin Phillips, Grealish, Haaland and Palmer. I can name you 5 of them. That won't be anywhere near the 11, Ethan. Laporte probably won't be. He'll probably be on the bench. Cancelo won't be there, full stop. Perone's going to last. Palmer's on loan. KP will not be in that team at all. It'll be Rodri and Palmer. It looks like he may be going out, as if they can get a bid done, the correct bid done. Tony, and then we'll come to you, Pete. where would you say? Because personally, for me, I think your midfield looks quality now. Obviously, with Bruno and Tonali, is that the area of the pitch you think you're going to try and you think you could exploit us in?
Well, our midfield is strong. I mean, you've got Joe Linton there as well, and he is a unit. Let's be honest. I mean, look, we know he was played up front as a striker under Steve Bruce, and he was never a striker. Eddie Howe's proven that. I mean, we have got a strong midfield, and the good thing with Tonali and Bruno is Tonali can drop and play as a number 6 in the DM role, where Bruno can get forward, and then they can swap positions during the game. So you've got that bit of fluidity there. The same with Anthony Gordon and Isak. They can swap positions by Gordon going from left wing to centre striker and Isak going on the left. And, Isak with the ball at his feet, he's a wizard. The ball stuck to his feet at times. He proved that against Everton. And he done that in pre-season as well. But the midfield, I think the midfield's going to be the key to the game, in all honesty. But as I say, the Tonali-Bruno partnership, last week we saw for the first time. And although Bruno didn't play his best game last weekend, Tonali looked like he'd been playing for Newcastle for years, because you wouldn't have thought that was his debut. To come and score a goal. And in some respects, he had a bit of Gary Speed to him, because Gary Speed used to arrive late in the box and score. And that's what exactly Tonali done last week when he got onto the end of that Gordon cross. And, Anthony Gordon's going to be another threat as well. I know all these Everton fans were all laughing when we bought Anthony Gordon. I'll tell you now, they won't be laughing, because he was a player of the tournament for the under-21s. And he only had 7 days off. Eddie Howe asked him to have 2 weeks off, and he said, no, I want 7 days off and I'm coming back to training. And that's somebody who wants to be playing. And now that he's getting in ahead of our new signing, Harvey Barnes, that just shows you the strength we've got in depth now coming through. And Harvey Barnes is another threat as well. So, yeah, I mean, look, the midfield is probably going to be the key battle between, obviously, our midfield three of Bruno, Tonali and Joe Linton.
Pete, do you agree with that?
Yeah, I think midfield have really, really stepped it up as well. We're starting to really look at up attack as well. Midfield, I think, is definitely the strongest point for us to see, considering we've got Bruno, Tonali, Joe Linton as well. I mean, what happens when Willock comes back as well? I mean, he's not playing for this game as well, but we've got extra depth in there now, which is the main thing as well. So, but yeah, our midfield is the strongest point and will be going into this game on Saturday.
I mean, obviously, we're expecting, to me, I think we've got the world's best CDM, Rodri. Caicedo's 130 million. God knows what Rodri's worth. You're looking now for 300 million. The guy's a Rolls Royce of a footballer. I think Kovacic, to me, he's just fitted in. He looks like he's been there forever. I thought he was really good last night. You got Bernardo Silva, and we know what Bernardo Silva can do on the back of a new contract. Brand new 300 grand a week wage. If that's not going to motivate him, what won't? With his 300 grand a week new contract. You got Phil Foden, got Jack Grealish, got Julian Alvarez, you got Haaland. And then, like you say, Rich, you've got the land of the giants at the back. I honestly think this could be a blockbuster of a game. I really do. I think this could be the game of the weekend. I think it already is, but I think for entertainment value, it really could. No doubt, I think Newcastle could get something. Like I said earlier, if it was at St. James's Park, I'd have a bit more worry. But because it's at Fortress Etihad, I think we'll just have a bit too much. Just my personal opinion. I think Pep, I think I said it on your show earlier, Pete. I think Pep's got a bit more respect for Newcastle.
Yep.
He's not
Oh,
looking at Newcastle in the same vein as he
No.
looks at a Bournemouth or an Everton, and that's no
Absolutely.
disrespect to them. He's going to look at a Newcastle in the same way he looks at a United game, an Arsenal game,
Yep.
a Chelsea game. So that's why I don't think Pep will allow them to drop levels on Saturday.
Mm.
I really don't. And when City turn it on, we've shown we can beat anybody on this footballing planet. But we can. It's just whether we turn up. So, I mean, the next thing is say, I mean, what from your side, Pete, are you worried about Antonio Tier? Are you worried about from the City standpoint? What is the where do you think we can hurt you?
Attack is definitely one of them. Haaland, he scores goals. Look how many he scored last season. He's probably on the verge of trying to break his goal tally from last season as well. Start off with 2 goals he scored against Burnley as well. Foden, good young talent that's come through. Alvarez, I think I rate him as well. Grealish is up and is starting to look like that £100 million player you've started to play for, that you've bought him for. So definitely attack-wise is probably your strongest point. Well, definitely one of your strongest points.
Owner?
Yeah, I mean, look, like Pete said, I mean, obviously Haaland's the main threat, isn't he, up front? I mean, feed him the ball and he'll score 9 times out of 10. He done it last season against us, scored against us. So, we know what to expect from Haaland. Obviously, you've got Rodri, who's your CDM, who is a great player, by the way. But it's not just your attack in front. Your fullbacks get forward as well. Kel Walker gets forward. I think Kel Walker might be happy there's no ESM playing in this game, because at St James's Park last year he had a torrid time against ESM. So Kel Walker's probably happy that he's not playing. But yeah, I mean, look, you've got goals all over, but it's how we handle it on the day, and that's what's more important: how we handle that game and how we handle your attack. If we handle your attack and keep it tight, then who knows what will happen. But I mean, Nick Pope's a great shot stopper, as we know. Yes, he's not as great with the ball at his feet. He is getting slightly better, but we know he's a great goalkeeper, Nick Pope. So yeah, I mean, look, as I say, your midfield and your attack and your full-backs, that's what we got to watch. But again, like I say, if you can keep that side of it quiet, 9 times out of 10 you'll win the game.
Disagree with that, Joel Linton. Just for me, he's not just that's been labelled at him, but he's a lot better footballer than what you probably think, mate. I mean, let's go. I mean, I don't know if anyone else got anything want to add on the game, because I know it's getting a bit spicy in the comments. By the way, can we all calm down a little bit? It's not a derby. This was a United derby. I get it, but let's all just rein in a bit, gentlemen and ladies in the chat.
It's the oil derby. What are you talking about, Martin? Come on.
Yeah, it's not a derby, but honestly, I mean, in 40 odd years since my first game, Newcastle's a team we've played a lot, because we played obviously a lot in the Premier League, but we've also played Newcastle a fair few times in the lower league. I remember Kevin Keegan, was it 1983, 84? Us getting pushed into 4th place and not going up with Newcastle Wednesday and Chelsea. I mean, so Newcastle, it's a very long rivalry, not as in a derby rivalry or anything like that, but we've both been up and down and we've played a lot. They're one of the few teams who maybe in a year or two, when the trophies come with the new money, will have actually not maybe been quite as bad as us at our worst. I think probably Sunderland managed that to be as bad as we were in 98 or whatever, but Newcastle haven't quite managed that. But to really see the ups and downs of football, to be there in, big numbers when, quite frankly, what was going on the pitch was terrible. So yeah, I've got a lot of memories of Newcastle. And we do seem to have had phases where I think we went about 10 years and we beat you about once, and then recently it's gone the other way a bit, and we've had a fantastic run. So it's probably about time we had a period where the games went both ways and we really played on the pitch as equals, which I think is probably happening now.
Super City thinks this is a title race. I mean, before we jump into it, Pete, Tony, what are your expectations? What would you be happy with this season?
Top 4 again would be great. Go for another cup, whether it's the Carabao Cup or go for the FA Cup again. Champions League, we know it's going to be quite difficult, but who knows? You never know how far we can get in this competition as well. But yeah, I think top 4 again will be great. And I think another trip to Wembley would be great for either the FA Cup or the Carabao Cup, and hopefully win it. Because it just came so close last year. Hopefully, it'd be great if it was our turn this time.
Do you think being in the champ, and this is one thing I think about, all the Arsenal fans getting overexcited, is being in the Champions League is hard. You're playing very big games. Do you think that's gonna, how do you think you'll go in the Champions League, and how do you think that might impact you in the Premier League?
Well, it all depends who we get in the group stages. I think that's where it goes down to, I would say. I think we will get one of the really big teams in one of the groups.
Might get more than one.
Well, we could do, yeah. But I think
no one will want Newcastle, though. I mean, you'll be the worst team anyone gets in the draw.
We'll definitely get one of them, at least one of them. I mean, if we got out the group stages, but say we got knocked out in the last 16, but still give it a go, I'd be really happy with that. Because it's going to be a real hard challenge to try and win it.
Yeah, I mean, look, again, I would say top 4 this season. I said in a preview, I did say my prediction would be finishing 3rd. I mean, last season I said I'll be happy with 7th place, and we got 4th place, so that exceeded my expectation of where I thought we would finish. And I did say we would win the Carabao Cup last season. We did come close to it against Man United. Again, win a cup this season would be great. I would love to go back and win the Carabao Cup this time around. But yeah, I mean, look, in Champions League, even if we didn't get out the group and we finished 3rd and we ended up in the Europa League, that wouldn't bother me, because that's still great, because we're still in a European competition, albeit it's not Champions League but Europa League. But if we did get out the group stage and we only got the next round and got knocked out, I would say that's progress, because we've not been in the Champions League for over 20 years, and to go in there and get out the group stage and get to the next round would be unbelievable. So I would take that all day long. But then I wouldn't be disappointed if we finished 3rd in that group and ended up in the Europa League as a Champions League dropout, because you're still, like I say, you're still in European competition, and even if you go and win the Europa League, that guarantees you Champions League anyway. So yeah, that would be my expectations, obviously, for this season as well. I mean, look, there's talks that we might be signing Lewis Hall from Chelsea. Now it's turned out it could be a loan with an option to buy, which I think is absolutely brilliant. If that's the case, 18-year-old left back, Chelsea have to sell, because they've bought that many players. I mean, look, I look at Chelsea and say, one, what system are they playing? Where are these players fitting in? I just think they're going out there, they're buying every player they can get a hold of. Just because of likes of Caicedo and Lavia say to Liverpool, I don't want to play for Liverpool, but I want to play for Chelsea. So Bowley's thinking, oh, well, I'll go and buy them then, So I think Chelsea I don't think Chelsea will be anywhere near the top 4 this season. I really don't. I think because I think they've got too many individuals in that team. I definitely don't rate Modric.
Class manager, though. That's why I think they will be in the top 4. Because I mean, Poch is class.
I mean, Pochettino's a class manager. Don't get me wrong. I like Pochettino as a manager, But I think he's got a hell of a job on his hands at Chelsea with the way the owner's buying all these players in. It all depends how they gel. But I'd be very surprised if they were in the top 4 this season. But one thing I do want to go back to is when you go back last season and you hear Pep Guardiola after the game, and this is how he has respect for Newcastle United, and it's not just because of obviously Sir Bobby Robson being his ex-manager because he was his captain. But when he actually said to the Sky cameras, look, this is a great point for City when you've got a point at our place last season. And even the reporter was trying to say, what do you mean a great point for City? He said exactly what I've just said. It's a great point for City. Because he knew he had been in a game and he knew he'd got out of that game with a point, where you could have easily lost that game because we were 3-1 up at the time. So, but that's the thing. Sky don't like us anyway, you see. So that's the thing. So that's why they were hoping Man City would trounce us.
Welcome to the club. Welcome to the club. We've not been liked for 15 years, mate. I'm still not liked because we have the wrong colour owner. Listen,
I mean, the one lesson that was learned last season, and we certainly won't make that mistake again, is Kyle Walker wasn't made for the inverted midfield fullback role. I mean, I felt sorry for him at Newcastle. He was looking like a non-league defender, and as a one-on-one defender, I don't know that there's been anyone better in world football the last 5 years. I mean, he's exceptional. And we saw him against the best Bayern and Real Madrid threw up, absolutely eating, and same when we played PSG, eating Mbappe and Vinicius, etc. for breakfast. But that day against St. Maximin, he just could not tactically cope, and then he was leaving St. Maximin in this kind of unmarked no man's land, and it was quite frightening to watch. But we haven't made that mistake since. If he plays as a right back. He doesn't do what Stones or Guardiola or Rico Lewis do. He does something else. And the other one I'm surprised we don't hear more about, with a bit of happiness from City fans, is Rico Lewis. I think he's absolutely exceptional player, and no one talks about him. It's amazes me. I think, but not just City fans, but I'm surprised. Southgate isn't paying a lot more, and the press aren't paying attention. I mean, he's 18, and he is absolutely the intelligence and the ability to come into our side and play mentally at the level we play. I think it's incredible, especially in the position he plays. It's the hardest place.
Yeah, I want to move on because I mean, for me, I said it on Pete's channel earlier. I think it's about enjoying the journey as a Newcastle fan.
It is.
Embrace the journey that you're on.
Yeah.
And like I said, I've heard on your channel, Tony, people talk about league wins and winning the titles. Trouble is, everyone wants to win a title. Liverpool are spending to win a title. United are spending to get involved in it. I said this earlier. Having a rich owner doesn't mean anything anymore. Just means you can. It's about managing the club, the expectation, and doing the journey properly, and then eventually everything will come. If you get there quicker, so be it. But like I said, City ain't going to go away next week. But we're not disappearing. We're about to splash God knows how much in the next 10 days. Chelsea are spending to be involved. Liverpool are spending to be involved. Villa are trying to spend to get involved. I think this season is going to be the most competitive Premier League we've ever seen this season. I think everyone's going to be gunning for everyone. But, I mean, let's go around the room. Let's get some score predictions to what we're thinking. We'll start with you, Pete. What are you thinking?
I'm going to go 2 apiece. I think we can go down, give us a game, and come away with a point. I think because we have improved as a team, and as I mentioned, we'll give you a game. I think maybe some of your players may not cope with some of ours. So that's why I'm going to take us to get a point. 2-2 goals from Isak and Tonali. And I said Holland will get a brace for you. 2 for you.
Okay. Ozzy?
Yeah, my heart says 2-1. My head is a little bit on the draw.
No chance, by the way. Sorry, I'm just referring to that. No chance.
Yeah, my head is a little bit on the draw side. I can see it being a 2-2 game. So that's where I'm at.
Okay. Tona?
Yeah, I mean, look, it's going to be a great game. I actually fancy us to sneak a 2-1 win. I think the last time we won down there was in the Carabao Cup game. Obviously, we've not done very well down there in the league. So I think it's about time we got one. And I know people say, "Oh, sometimes it's great to catch City early," but I think you've played well at the start of the season, so it doesn't look like you've had any early season jitters so far. But it's going to be a great game. It's going to be full of attack. I think between both sides, they're going to go for a full-blooded. And I'm just going to say I fancy us to sneak this 2-1. Yeah, I think 2-1, and then I have got a question, a debate to put around the table after you've gone through your predictions, because I think this might be interesting what I've got to say.
Are you worried about FFP? Nope, not at all. Because I think City have done everything they need to do.
You were saying on my channel as well, Martin.
Yeah, I'm not gonna. People who are regulars of Mancunian Way know what we're gonna say on that. It'll be proved. It'll be proved, and we'll be fine. I think they've thrown paint at a wall and hoping things stick. Rich?
I think we'll win 1-0. I think it'll be one of those quite intense, not that many chances, pretty high quality game. And I think, in the second half, big moment, Erling will get a goal and 1-0. And it'll be, we'll be playing hard till the 99th minute or whatever time gets added on. I don't think it's going to be, I think it'll be up in the air till the end. But I still think we're in, Newcastle's strengths. I think, they're good. We shouldn't fear anyone, but we should respect, and we will. But I just think there's that little bit of quality, and we're at home.
Yeah, I've gone for 3-1. I think Haaland will get 2, Foden will score. No, I think it'll be a tough game. I think City will just have that little bit of extra quality up top. And it's the first home game. I think Pep will have his tactics spot on and get the job done. So there you go. People are putting their predictions in the comments. Go on, Tony. What was you going to ask them?
Right. Now, I've mentioned this before on my channel, and so obviously different people in the chat tonight. Right, and obviously to yourselves as well. Now, what we're seeing at the moment is, and this is my thoughts, this is just what I'm thinking, maybe it not happen, but maybe it will do. Now, you're seeing a lot of players leaving Europe and going to join the Saudi League. Obviously, Riyad Mahrez has gone from yourselves, ESM's gone from us. Obviously, Neymar's the latest one to join the Saudi Revolution. They are trying to get Victor Osimhen as well. Now then, my question is, and my thoughts on this is, right, the more players that's leaving Europe to join the Saudi League, I think will put more pressure on UEFA and Surfing, who's in charge of UEFA, because what will happen at the end of the day, UEFA's going to get a bit sick of this and they're going to say, hang on a minute, all these players are jumping ship from Europe and moving out to Saudi Arabia, because obviously in Saudi Arabia there's no FFP. Now then, UEFA, I think one day are going to turn around and say, the only way we can stop all these players leaving Europe and going to Saudi Arabia is if we scrap FFP. That is the only way, because I don't think this is the end of big players leaving Europe to join the Saudi League. And I'll tell you now, if Osimhen joins the Saudi League, then UEFA are in serious trouble, in my opinion.
I have a different view on that. I think I mentioned it on Pete's. I think UEFA will do the opposite in FIFA. I think they'll, once they regulate the Saudi League, I think the Saudi League then becomes in trouble unless it gets major sponsorship in somehow. I don't think they'll ever get rid of, well, SFSR now, because then it will be a total monopolised league. And then you might as well forget Liverpool and all them. They'll be out of it because the owners haven't got the money. So that's why I don't think that'll happen. The Saudi League at the minute is doing it obviously for this 2030 World Cup bid. And, you know, you go over to Saudi, you see all the 2030 banners and everything else that's all over there. I have no problem with what they're doing. No problem with that at all. My issue is they're not regular. Like I said to Pete on his channel earlier, I read somewhere without the investment that's coming in from wherever it's coming from, one of the Saudi clubs couldn't even afford to pay one of the players. They don't make enough as a club to pay one of the players' wages for a week. So how I don't think that's going to Holly Rich's dogs have made an appearance.
They have.
I
can translate in a minute.
I honestly think once they get regulated, I don't know, because China have had a go. It's like America. The American league could go and do what they do, but they have all the wage caps in. So they're not allowed to go and do it. That's why they have to get the outside sponsorship for Messi, Busquets and all them. Again, no issue with the Saudi League. I think they're going to have the problem when they get the regulation put in. I think it's one of the worst ideas bringing them into the Champions League because then it's not a European competition. That just opens the door to take games out of England. And I've openly said the minute games get taken out of England is the minute I stop all football. I don't believe in taking games or taking Premier League games out of England. I think that's a farcical idea. I know it's coming.
Martin's always boycotted Cardiff and Swansea, to be fair.
No. It's not about that, Rich, but how is it a Premier League game if we're off to Saudi Arabia or we're off to Dubai or we're off to Australia? That makes no sense whatsoever.
And I think that there's a massive fight in world football at the moment, and Saudi Arabia is part of this. And really, you've got three organisations, UEFA, FIFA, and the Premier League, who are vying for money. All the stuff about FFP. The truth is that UEFA and the Premier League are now in competition for what's the biggest thing in European football. And the Super League, was an attempt by European clubs to try and break out some of the Premier League clubs to just destroy the power of the Premier League. And to put this in perspective, the likelihood is at the end of this transfer window, I saw the other day that possibly 6 or 7 Premier League teams will have spent more than La Liga. Outside Real Madrid, La Liga spent something like less than 100 million now between 19 clubs, or certainly that was true a week ago. And the Premier League, the Saudi League, if we think it's a threat to the Premier League, the threat in all the other European leagues is tenfold what it is to the Premier League, because the Premier League has the money to compete to a fair degree and, offers many things the Saudi League can't. It is harder and harder and harder for, the French League, La Liga outside Real Madrid, or most of the Italian clubs to even remotely compete with Saudi Arabia. And Saudi Arabia is probably being pushed along in the background by FIFA, because FIFA wants some of that. They've got the World Cup, but they're trying to set up the Club World Cup because FIFA wants some of that UEFA money. So you have got this battle at the moment where Premier League, you've got FIFA and Saudi Arabia as a FIFA member, you've got UEFA, and they all want that pot of money. And, we're seeing UEFA doing things to try and, particularly driven by the 2 Spanish clubs, to try and damage the Premier League or split the Premier League up. You've got FIFA making a play at a Club World Cup to try and devalue the Champions League. You've got the Premier League you're getting more and more money, and in there. So I just don't know whether the Premier League, whether the leagues will in UEFA will regulate to try and stop Saudi. I think they've got one card to play. They've got one card, and that's not let them in the Champions League. So if they let them in the Champions League,
UEFA can't regulate beyond the region. They can if
no, they can't.
They can if they want to come into the UEFA competitions.
Yeah, and that's their card. That's their card. If they let Saudi Arabia into the Champions League, then more and better players will go there because they will be able to play at the top level of football, and they'll do that when they're younger and younger. If they're not in the Champions League, well, then they're going to have to survive off the back of playing, the South Korean champions or the Japanese champions, and they won't get the TV money and therefore the sponsorship that drives football. But I'm not quite as threatened as everyone is. I mean, I was reading on.
No, I'm not.
Shouldn't go on Facebook the other day. A team of the best from Saudi Arabia, and it was saying, this team would win the Champions League. It wouldn't. It was a team who, with possibly one exception, every player was past their best, and some of them to a level like we saw with Ronaldo, where he wasn't good enough for United at the end of his time there. They're past it. Newcastle would beat them 3-0 if you put the best side in the Saudi league together. I think City could put 4 or 5 past them. I think we're going a bit over the top, but they are trying, and the same with Abu Dhabi, they are trying to build a sustainable world when oil is no longer a powerful driver of money and a powerful political tool in the world. They're trying to create a world where people go on holiday like Dubai has. We know we're not going to have oil forever, so let's create a financial hub, let's create a tourist hub, and let's have sources of money whilst we've got the money to invest and create them. And you've seen what Saudi Arabia is doing in Neom and stuff like that. It's just it's not just football, it's golf. They'll be it'll be in cricket soon. It will be they're building digital cities. They are trying to prepare for a world post oil, and I think there'll be huge investment, but it will then become sustainable, because the truth is, whether it's Abu Dhabi buying City or the American owners or Saudis, ultimately they want those to be self-sustaining, high, very, very public, successful entities. They don't want, to be seen as chucking money and, achieving stuff in an unsustainable way. So we'll get the investment, but the investment, and I think this is what I'm seeing at Newcastle, is the investment is in everything. It's not about buying £150 million players. It's about improving all the facilities the club has. And by all accounts, when you talk about the way they took over, it sounded like you pretty much had paddling pools with a few ices from the off license chucked in after the game. So
that's the thing.
They've got a huge job to do behind the scenes with all the facilities.
That's why, and I think I've said this to you, Pete, that's why Amanda Stabler came down to the CFA for a week and looked at the way City. I think they're following the City model in a way of how they did it, building. Yep. They're looking at it that way. Now, like I say, I've no problem with Saudis owning Newcastle. My issue with the league is, I think it's like, did I read somewhere today? I don't know if it's true. Neymar's been paid £500,000 for putting pro-Saudi stuff onto his Instagram or somewhere. It's like, what? You're getting paid how much? And I get it. It's all this 2030. I know you have to go in a minute, don't you, Tony?
I do, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, what do you think? You know, give me your thoughts before you go. I just need to do one thing. I'll be back in 1 minute.
I mean, look. I mean, yes, we know the Saudi League they're spending lots and lots of money. We know the Chinese League went down that road, and look what's happened to that. It was an absolute shambles. But I think the Saudi League could be totally different. PIF control 4 of the clubs. So I don't think they're going to go out of business. But it's just the amount of money that's in there. It's just absolutely crazy at the moment.
But that wouldn't be allowed though, Tony. Sorry to jump in. If they came part of that, they wouldn't allow them because they can't control you and control 4 others in the Champions League.
No, they can't. No, because you can't have it. That was one of the reasons why, if they wanted to buy Inter Milan,
yeah, that's what I mean.
We couldn't meet Inter Milan in the Champions League because it's 2 clubs owned by the same.
So that's what I mean.
They're changing the rules.
Is it a problem for you, or is it a problem for? That's what I mean. I think once they got regulated, PFI wouldn't be allowed to pump the money in. They'd be saying, "Go and get sponsorships," and I think that's where the Chinese league fell down because they stopped getting the investment and they went right, start being self-sufficient, and China went, "We can't." So they went, like someone said, they're not packing. I know they want to do, but they're not packing the state. Same with America. Someone said that, I mean, did you all see Messi's debut? 75 minutes in, 3/4 of the stadium just disappeared. And they all went, where are you all going?
And they paid, a lot of them had paid $500 for the ticket.
And it was mad. I think that's the problem. Listen, Tony, I think it's a great debate, and I want to do this one day properly when you've got a bit longer. But I honestly feel I don't think it can happen. One for you, I think it's bad for your club if they tried to do it. But I don't know. It's a weird one. I don't know.
We couldn't bring Saudi Arabia into the Champions League anyway because, as you say, Saudi Arabia's not in Europe; they're in the Middle East. They're a totally different area.
Yeah, it's amazing what people do for money, though. I mean, although probably the issue would be is that the Asian Football Federation would say they had to resign for it. It would probably have some effect, like Saudi Arabia couldn't play in Asia for qualifying for the World Cup, and then you'd have, I think there'd be some real political things about them going into UEFA tournament because the other football federations would be scared to death of that, because what then happens if, a US team wants to go and play in a UEFA competition, and I think it would become problematic. I think FIFA and the Asian Football Federation wouldn't want to lose their wealthiest country, but it'll be interesting. But they're changing the rules on who can play. Like, by all accounts, both Red Bull teams can play in the same competition with some co-ownership, and City Football Group clubs were not precluded from qualifying for Europe if we do. So they are changing the rules. So I think if they thought there was money, and this is what will happen, and this is, if it does happen, the fight will be if Saudi come with a huge amount of finance, offering an extra 1 billion euros to the Champions League pot, and then all the other clubs like Real Madrid find out that could mean £75 million more for Real Madrid for playing in the Champions League. You'll suddenly have all the big clubs saying, "Oh yeah, that sounds like a really good idea," and that's when those sorts of things happen. It's all money, it's all greed, and we've seen it in golf. We've seen it in golf.
The problem, Rich. They can't, because PFI own 4 of the major clubs in the Saudi League. They then can't come in the Champions League and own Newcastle at the same time.
So, Martin, are you suggesting that football doesn't change rules to suit the big clubs?
Rich, there'd be an absolute kick-off. Rich, don't pretend there would not be a kick-off from Liverpool, United and everyone else.
No, of course there wouldn't, because Saudi would bring 100 million more a year for them, and you think the American owners are going to turn down?
No, you just
no. I think
what you're saying, Rich, football's dead.
Well, it is. It's a money-driven game. Are you telling me that United's owners or Liverpool's owners would turn down another 100 million for the Champions League to have to Saudi team in there? Not in a million years. We as the fans might say that's right.
You're looking at it from a money point of view, Rich.
But how do you think Liverpool's owners and Arsenal's owners and Chelsea's owners, how do you think they look at football?
Then Rich.
For money.
55,000 shouldn't bother walking in the Etihad tomorrow on Saturday night then. Forget it.
But
game's gone.
Can I bring my point in, if you don't mind?
It has gone.
Well, I know Tony, just mate. 1 minute, because I know Tony's desperate to get.
I mean, I know this. I mean, you look at one thing. Just sorry before. I mean, you look at another thing as well. You could say about the Saudis, but look at Israel. Their clubs are in the Champions League. How come they're in the Champions League? They're not Europe. They're not in Europe, Israel. Well, they weren't the last time I looked on the map. They weren't in Europe.
Technically, England aren't anymore.
Well, yeah, we're not in Europe.
No,
I think
Liverpool
it's different football-wise. It's different on a football scale. Anyway, Tony,
Turkish sides out in Europe.
Rich, Tony has to go. Shut up.
Thank you, Tony. Thank you very much.
No problem. Thank you, guys. Thanks for having me on, Martin.
Mike TV, if you want to go over there, Mancunian Way and Show Sports, so and I'm sure I'll be doing some post-match and everything, build it up. Thank you for joining us, mate.
Cheers, guys. See you later. Thank you. Thanks. Bye-bye. Bye-bye, Pete.
Ozzy, go on then.
Yeah, just to kind of bring it back down to football a little bit. For me, it's very similar to what happened to the Chinese league, like you were saying, Martin. A lot of players who left the Chinese league were going for the money. They were mercenaries. Some players were coming towards the end of their career. Some players, like I said, were mercenaries and just wanted the money. And we've seen that. I mean, the Fulham player, the striker, Mitrovic was kicking off a bit, wasn't he? Because he saw dollar signs and he was like, I don't care. I want out. They want me. That's it. I don't care about playing in the Premier League. You're going to get a lot of players like that. But I think for some of the big, top, talented players, they want to play in the biggest leagues and they want to play in the biggest competitions. And Saudi hasn't got that. They've got a lot of money. They may have some nice places to live. But realistically, that's what it comes down to for a lot of these players is they want to play the big competitions.
Yeah, and that's why they're going to Saudi at 33, 34. Mahrez has done everything he wants to in the game, and he can go to Saudi and retire. I don't know if you've seen, there's an interview. I don't know if it's a really recent interview, but an interview with Carlos Tevez, and I think he went. Was it the Middle East or was it China? He went and he played a bit, and he was getting $500,000 a week or something. And you're saying about the mercenaries, but to put a slightly different perspective, Carlos Tevez said, I came from one of the roughest parts of Buenos Aires. You know, he came from absolute slums. You know, one of the reasons his face was as he was, boiling water getting, knocked on his face as a kid. And he said his biggest aim in football was he has, about 120 close relatives, and he wanted to buy all of them homes out of the slums of Buenos Aires. He wanted them all to have an education. He wanted them all to have a different life he did. So he said he went to China. He got paid an absolute fortune, and that money went, a huge chunk of that money went to moving his entire family into safe areas, paying for houses, paying for their education. Mane, a player who we've probably given a lot of stick when he's at Liverpool, he's practically keeping a town of about 10,000 going by. His money's gone to schools and hospitals and things like that, because a lot of players, it's very well if you're Frank Lampard and you come from London, you go to your nice private school, you've got a wealthy family. Money's one thing, but some of these guys are coming from absolute abject poverty, and it's very easy, and I can be as sanctimonious as anyone, but it's very easy to say, that's mercenary or that's wrong. But if you're securing your family's future or your town's future, or
I think the way it's been described, Rich, is it's generational money, isn't it? It is. It's not just securing the players and their family, and giving them security. It's giving their kids,
cousins,
their grandkids, it's giving them the security that, like you said, they need and want. Which is understandable. But I think just to bring it, like I said, back is, I don't think it will last. I think eventually the bubble will burst like it did in China. It won't carry on forever, because I think, as we saw with the World Cup, a couple of years ago now, it's for Qatar. They were doing this to get the big sponsorship, to get the focus on the World Cup. I think it's the same right now. The bubble will burst eventually, and things will go back to the way they were before. it doesn't last forever. You're right, Rich. Money does control the world, and the more money you pump into something, the more it will happen. But I don't think this will happen.
Let me put it this way. I went to Portugal on holiday. Do you remember when Portugal was it the Euros, where they did a combined Portugal, was it Spain or wherever it was? I went over there and they went and built all these big, huge stadiums. And I went over there and the taxi driver said to me, I'm going to take you past a real sad thing. Went past the old Porto Stadium before they moved. That was being used for this Euro bid. And it's just lying there. Desolate, covered in grass, overgrown. And that is the problem. It's not. The Saudi League thing has got everywhere about 2030 on it for the World Cup. And with Aussie, once that World Cup's got, changes then. Because it's all right going for the bid and everything else, but when you're paying Neymar $500,000 just to post pro Saudi Arabian stuff on, it's then not about football anymore. Football's gone out the window at that point. $500,000. No, I know, Rich, but the trouble is,
Abu Dhabi didn't buy City for football reasons. I mean,
Rich, I understand that, but Abu Dhabi didn't go and set their own league up and went, here we go.
Question for you, Martin. How many Premier League owners do you honestly think are in it for football? If you take out the clubs,
Rich, sometimes I think, are you coming on this as a fan, or are you doing it as your work job? I don't know which one we look at.
No. I'm just talking about reality. I'm not saying I agree with anything, but do you think that the American owners of Premier League clubs are in it for the football? They're in it for a profit stream.
I'm not saying they are, and I'm not saying our owners are in it for the football. I understand why they're in it, but what I'm saying is that you're basically saying, Rich, forget the fans, it's all done, doom and gloom. In 5 years, football's dead, and we'll all be wearing.
No, I'm saying we either we can fight some of the things, we have to accept a lot of it, and
no, I don't have to. No, Rich, there's a difference, mate. Me, Pete, Ozzy, you, or Jack and Jill in the chat don't have to accept nothing. We can walk away, mate.
We choose, yeah, exactly. But that's what I'm saying.
It's about longevity as well, though, Rich. I think the thing that makes the Premier League so unique, and the same with a lot of other clubs in Europe, is the history and the fan support with that history. Because you could give all the money you want to these players to go and play in the Pro League, in the Saudi Pro League, and whatever, but these clubs will still go on no matter what. And I think when you talk about owners, yes, they're coming in because they want to make a profit. There's no denying that. But they also see, you look at with the potential United takeover, they're paying a premium on that history, on the Premier League, because of the rivalries and everything else that we love about football. It's a dream, and you buy the dream. You're not going to buy the dream in Saudi Arabia because you haven't got the support, you haven't got the history, you haven't got the fan base that really want this. Do you know what I mean? They're going to go and watch a couple of games, but we saw it, in the World Cup. They haven't got the proper teams, they haven't got the proper fan base. They're going to go and watch a couple of games, but you're not going to get the die-hard fans that are going to go there, blood, sweat, and tears. And that's where I think it will.
That's right. That's what 5% of turnover. I mean, this is about TV. It will only matter what TV viewers they get.
Right. I mean, Douglas, if we believe the Saudi business is flashing back, no one's saying the Saudi business is. What we're saying is the Saudi business have to. What I don't think you're getting Douglas right. Let me explain. And Pete, you know this, and this is no disrespect to anything. The 4 major clubs in Saudi Arabia are financed by who, Pete?
PIF.
Right. Do you think FIFA are going to allow that to carry on forever?
No.
So when FIFA says to PIF, right, you can no longer do that now. You now have to be self-sufficient. What do Saudi Arabia do then? That's what Ozzy's saying about the longevity. They haven't got the structure. They've already admitted they haven't. They haven't got the structure in place to do that. Do you think they're going to keep paying Neymar $500,000 a week to do that?
Why do you think FIFA are going to do that?
What do you mean? What are they going to allow?
What-
You go on.
I don't see any history of FIFA trying to take money out of football.
China.
I see
As soon as China got regulated, Rich, they were screwed.
they regulate, but that was also the
What
Chinese.
happened, Rich?
That was Chinese government position.
Rich,
You-
because
Do you know?
do you
Just to
read
be
the
quite
rules of
clear,
football,
China.
Mate, Rich, do you
China-
read the rules of football? A government is not
Yes.
allowed to finance football. New rules that have come in.
Can I
Yeah,
give a
but what I'm
perfect
saying
example,
is
Rich?
China.
Rich, you
China
forgot
was
that.
about. No, China was about Chinese government also backing away from it because it was not working for them.
Hey, help me out here.
Can I just make a
And-
quick,
Yeah.
really quick one? Look what's happened to PSG. Okay, PSG, all the way up to the World Cup, were given loads of money. They were buying the best player, Neymar, Messi, and Mbappe. We're after the World Cup now. What's happened, Rich? All the big players have gone or going. They're now having to kind of go. Hasn't worked in that respect. We haven't won the Champions League like we wanted, but we've got all the things leading up to the World Cup that we wanted. Now they're going back to being. I think they're going to go back to the team they were.
I think. Well, no, actually, I honestly with PSG, I think they're going to be better post. I think there is some truth in that great fan, but they've got the best manager they've had in years, and they're actually going to try and build a team.
Rich,
not
what is the point in
three players.
FSR then? What is the point in FSR? The whole point.
The point of FSR is to try and pull back the Premier League. It was to try and pull back City and possibly
you
Chelsea,
think
then
then
Newcastle,
UEFA and FIFA
and then to hold back the
outside-
Premier League.
So you think UEFA and FIFA are going to allow Saudi Arabia to keep being pumped in and paid for by the Saudi government?
Well, UEFA have absolutely zero to do
If they
with
want
it.
to come into the Champions League, yes, they will, Rich.
Well, yeah, yes, they will
But
if
it's
they
their
do,
rules,
and
Rich.
that's
And that's what
yeah.
the
If
end
they
game
do,
is.
if they do,
They've already
and
said
they're
that's
not.
what their end game is.
Yeah, and FIFA, on the other hand, has it in its
I'm
interest.
going to bang my head
to have-
against the wall in a minute.
But I think you're being a bit naive about some of the depth and
I'm
some
not
of the games in
What
world
I think
football.
you're being is
You're-
that you think the Saudi League are just going to be allowed to just keep going with no money.
I think FIFA, if it's in FIFA's interests around the World Cup and around keeping UEFA in check, FIFA and and let's remember this is in the Asian Football Federation. They will do what suits their interests, and they will not be looking out for UEFA's interests. They'll be looking out for their interests.
Right, then City and Newcastle needs to go 2 fingers up to Premier League, and we all go and spend. Let City and Newcastle
Chelsea have done it.
Let's go then.
Chelsea have done it, so let's see what happens.
They haven't, Rich, because they've actually, if you actually look in the books, and this has been proven, they're actually okay.
No, I think that some of the best football journalists, if you actually go and look at some of the work that's been done talking about Chelsea, I think a lot of those myths have been put down. I think Chelsea have put a finger up to it, and we'll see what happens. Because Chelsea have not only admitted that they've had dodgy books the last 10 years or 15 years, they have gone and spent now, was it net 600-700 million for a team that was losing. I think the Chelsea were already losing over 100 million a year. So they've gone crazy.
Right,
we'll
they're
see.
banking here, Rich, but Ricardo is right. Xi Jinping was using football as a political tool, lost his interest when the economy was in trouble. However, they still run Bulls. What's happening with Bulls right now, Rich?
That China has lost interest in
what's
football
happening with
because
Bulls?
it's not. They're not very well. Inter Milan got to the Champions League final and nearly beat us.
And what's happened with Wolves? Everyone's sold. Manager walked out.
Martin, read what he wrote. China has lost interest in football. Xi Jinping has lost interest in football because it's no longer serving the political aim he had.
And that's
it's
what
as simple
Saudi
as
are doing.
that.
Whether you like that or not, Rich, that's what Saudi are doing.
No, Saudi is a very, very different strategy. China was not building its long-term economy and its economic future on football. China was using football for internal reasons. Saudi Arabia is building a world.
Yeah.
It's building a world for an economy beyond oil. it's a totally different strategy, a totally
Anyway,
different aim.
Rich, we need to move on because even though we're in the chat's like, can we get going? Right. So Rich don't believe in football anymore. Football's dead. Anyone can spend what they want.
Rich believes in reality, sadly.
Yeah, Saudi Arabia can spend what they want and screw all the rules. Everyone else has to follow rules, but Saudi Arabia is what you're basically telling us, Rich.
What rules are in the Middle East to stop people spending money on sport? Not many.
Okay. If they want to play in our leagues and our competitions, then yes, they will be rich. Because you're not allowed to be co-owners.
If
And
if we don't change the rules.
Anyway, transfer rumours.
I'm going to go mad myself.
I don't know if you want to talk about. I mean, obviously, City haven't seemed to have got going yet in the market. We brought in Kovacic. We brought in Josko Gabardio. Mahrez has left. Gundogan has left. Now, one thing I will say, a couple of updates I had late last night. And by the way, this is not the Martin ITK section that Ozzy was talking about. Martin's not the ITK. Martin knows someone who's an ITK.
What I thought that's your section, Martin. I've set it up for you. Come on.
You get an intro and everything.
Yeah.
Taylor Howard-Bellis looks like he's on his way to Nottingham Forest. They are in negotiations of a 12 to 15 million pound deal, which will be very sad from my point of view. Very sad indeed. City are currently in negotiations as well to sign Ozzy. Give me his name because it's gone out of my head. From Boca Juniors. See what I mean?
Yeah, it's gone out of my head as well, actually. Now I just said that.
An Argentinian wonder kid. We've heard this one before, haven't we? Because I'm going to talk about another Argentinian wonder kid everyone talked about. Anyway, for around 10 million euros, he will be staying at Boca Juniors to take part within the Copa Libertadores, very similar to the Julian Alvarez deal. So you won't see him till about February. What was the other update we had earlier? Maximo Peroni, who everyone said was a baller. Can't wait to say he's going to Las Palmas on loan, it looks like. The backup will be Girona, but as I said 7-8 weeks ago, the plan was for him to go on loan. João Cancelo is still in negotiations with Barcelona, but there is interest from Saudi Arabia. Emerick Laporte has not made his decision on whether he wants to go to Saudi Arabia yet because, unlike Rich likes to think, Emerick Laporte has a little bit of noggin. I might want to go to Real Madrid. The latest update I got on Lucas Paqueta was we're waiting on West Ham to do their business. So basically watch what other clubs are doing for us to make our move. There is a chain going on at the moment. Basically, Paqueta won't be allowed to move until West Ham have replacements in. One is in. Kudus, I believe, is in. From what has anyone heard that? Has Kudus now gone into West Ham?
He hasn't got in, but it's close, isn't it? I think medical's been booked.
I think when that gets done, I think that's when Paqueta will roll into City. Doku, ignore all the Tottenham Hotspur crap. No. Tottenham
85 million for
around about 85 million, yeah.
Yeah.
Sullivan did try and get us to 100. Wasn't happening. What was the other update I got? Doku, Tottenham and West Ham are negotiating with the club. We've negotiated with the player. The player wants to come to Manchester City. They're looking to get a fee now of around £45 million. This mystery player, I have no idea who that is. I've heard from Mbappe, I've heard to Salah, I've heard to every single person. I have no idea. On non-Man City news, I did hear there could be a chance Salah may move at the end of the window. Where to? Don't know.
Saudi Arabia.
There you go. Look at Rick smiling. Another one. 33. End of his career.
It is. Well, it is.
I've got to say that if the mystery player, I hope it's Witsel. Because I know there's rumours like we may look at him next summer, but I think with the injury to De Bruyne, I'd say bring him in now. You know,
I
why
thought, I'm
not?
sure you were going
They're
to say
not-
Leroy
They're
then.
not selling Verts now, mate. They won't do it.
Money
Thank you.
talks.
That's his name, Valentin Barco. No, he's got a release clause next year.
I think we've got to make a very sane decision on it. Ozzy,
Why would you
very
bring
sane
Verts
decision.
in? The problem is, Ozzy, why would you bring Verts in for a few months when you know KDB's coming back?
The thing is that my worry though is, yes, he's coming back, but is he going to be the same player? Because he's had this hamstring problem quite a bit now. It's become more regular.
Hence the operation, though.
Yeah, but not all the time do players come back the same way after an operation. And I'm just thinking, I said it earlier on our WhatsApp group, is he going to come back at full fitness? Is it time to think about his long-term replacement coming in sooner rather than later?
You can want that.
I think that's yeah. I think it's I mean that has it. What we have to accept is I think he might come back short term better because he's played on one leg and he's played exhausted for quite a long time. I think a proper rest, a proper recuperation could mean we have a better Kevin De Bruyne in the second half of the season than we would have had otherwise. But there is no question he's coming up to, is he 32 now? So
right.
he is, 33. Soon he's 33. I don't think he's quite yet, but he's he's coming towards the end of his career, and so I'd rather have his replacement playing for 18 months under Pep, getting ready to take over than we sign someone in summer in 2 years' time, and Kev just goes and we just replace him straight after. I'd rather have time. So whether it's Foden or Wirtz or whoever, I'd rather have them at City learning the way to play and getting experience. And I do think that we have to accept that, for the next 2 years, Kev will be, 30, 35 starts a season. He's not going to be 70 starts a season. So regardless, even if he's playing quite a lot of the big games, he's not going to be playing, Monday, Saturday, Wednesday. He's going to be playing Wednesday or Saturday. And so therefore, getting his replacement in makes sense to me.
Can I just say, Shemaine Hargreaves, Cade, thank you for renewing your membership 2 months. You're a superstar. Thank you. Ethan asked why no Cancelo, because he's not involved, mate. They're not speaking, mate. Pete, what do you think of City's business at the moment? What are you thinking?
I think they probably just played it smart. They probably want the right players in as well.
I don't know every news, Colonel. I'm not an ITK. I get news off someone about City, not football in general. He's asking me about Arsenal, man.
I call it Martin section ITK.
Yeah, I think that Man City are just playing it smart like we have been doing. They just get the right players in.
I mean, listen, I want to ask about someone. I think it was a massive hit yesterday when Pep talked about Cole Palmer. Pep doesn't normally go public.
Neither does Eddie at times as well.
Yeah. For Pep to come out and go, well, no, I'm not Tommy Zedu. I am not the ITK. Somebody we know. And Ozzy knows exactly who it is, so I don't know why he's doing that. Me and Andy know the person who is the ITK because they know they're within the club. So that's why we know. And we only pass on stuff that we've been told is reliable. We're not the ITK. So everyone who tells me, I'm not. Never have claimed to be. It's why you never see anything on my Twitter or the channel's Twitter, actually, about transfers. Because we're not the ITKs. Cole Palmer. I personally think he's going to leave. I really do. I honestly think he's out there. What does anyone else think? Ozzy, Rich, anyone?
Well, it kind of seems like sorry, mate.
I was going to say, I got the impression that Pep would be happy for him to stay. And it's Palmer who wants first team football. And, you know, Pep's comments were almost like, I think he wants first team football, but maybe after the last week he'll change his mind. And I think Pep would keep him, but I think the player wants to start more. But, you know, he got a man of the match in the Super Cup, and he got on at Wembley. So, you know, he is obviously trusted by Pep more than, you know, any of the kids bar.
What's he buying Doku for then, Rich?
So competition, you know, there's no, yeah. Even if Palmer takes on Mahrez games, we still need someone as competition for Grealish. I mean, we need the games. So, to me,
I've just checked. There was no update, Edward. His last update was 2 hours ago.
So I think, you know, to me, I'd like to keep Palmer because I want to see some of these Manc kids come through into the team. And I thought it was, you know, at the end of the game at Burnley, we had 4 Mancunian academy players on the pitch. And, you know, I think that to me is what I want to see a bit more of. And I think that's why we all love Phil. And it would be great if we had Phil, we had Cole, we had Rico playing more games. So I'd like to keep it.
Do you honestly think, no, Palmer's going to stay? Because from what I've heard and you've heard and we've all heard, Palmer wants to play games.
That's his call. I think maybe he will. You know, if he's
Perhaps
offered,
go public,
yes.
Does that not tell you a lot of? Yeah, I want to keep him, but I kind of know he's good.
Yeah, I think he's trying to put a bit of pressure on him, like he did with Carl Walker. You know, Pep made very clear.
The quote was when we arrived, meaning in Athens, I was told he wanted to leave.
Yeah.
Now, whether that performance yesterday's changed, we don't know. But and then Palmer's quotes have come out going, if they sign someone, I don't know. I think Palmer's looking at it going, you're bringing in Doku, I'm out of there.
Do you know what? I think if we sign Doku and we still have Palmer, I think Palmer at the moment for a while would be picked ahead of Doku. I think Doku would be not coming in to start on the Saturday. I think he'd be coming in, and I think, you know, by all accounts, he's a very, very hard-working, very clever kid, football-wise. And De Bruyne's obviously talked him up, but I don't think you walk into there. I don't think Doku comes in and just walks into the side. I think he comes in, and whether it's Bernardo or Phil or Alvarez or, you know, even Palmer, he's behind them in the pecking list, you know, when he comes in. But Palmer might want 38 starts in the season. And if he wants that,
they're not spending 50 million on Doku. They just keep Palmer and won't spend the 50 million on Doku, Rich.
I think we need to. I think you underestimate. At the end of last season, our team was on its knees, tired. They were exhausted.
Where you put Bernardo?
I think they'll play plenty of games. I think you're underestimating just how exhausted we were at the end of the season. We've taken out 2 bodies. I think we need to add 4 players because I think our squad was too small last year, the core squad. I think we had the best season we've probably had in 45 years for injuries. They were knackered despite having no injuries. If we'd have had 2 or 3 injuries last year, the season would have fallen apart. And I think they know that, which is why if we lose 2 first-team squad players, I think they probably want to add 3 or 4. And just to give us that, you know, give us 18 instead of 16 to play the season.
Mm-hmm.
I think.
Carry on.
I think you both got good points there. I think I kind of agree with you, Martin. I think why would you bring this kid in, Doku, if you're not planning to kind of have him start more, you're spending all this money. I think Palmer does want first-team football. I think some people say he's earned it with his recent performances. I still think he's got a lot to learn, but he's definitely a quality player. There's no denying that. You know, I think the more he plays, the more he's showing us that he's extremely brilliant talent. I think you're right though, Rich. I think we are light of numbers. I think we were very lucky with injuries. We had a fantastic season, but I think the injuries will start catching up to us. KDB, for example, there will be others. I have no doubt, and I think you do need to have. I know Pep likes his small squad, but I think at the same time you do need to have. We always say you like to have at least 2 players in a position. I don't think you're going to get that under Pep, really, but I think you still need to have the flexibility of being able to move these players around like you do, like with Bernardo, that can move out onto the wing.
Sorry, I'm just going to bring the idiot in the room. Look at this person. Embarrassing. Now, what's embarrassing is you. So, go and do your own work. Go and do whatever you need to do. Bye-bye. Carry on.
I mean,
Yeah,
I guess, Ozzy, to your point, I'd be interested in Pete's thoughts. To me, at the end of last season, we looked knackered. I thought we weren't the team by the FA Cup final, by the Champions League final that we had been. We almost peaked for Real Madrid, and then we started to run out of gas. And the season before, I thought Liverpool, March, April were head and shoulders better than Real Madrid, but Liverpool just looked absolutely knackered in the final. And before that, Chelsea against City, I thought both teams looked knackered and poor. I think the Premier League is really hard. And the biggest disadvantage in the Premier League is we're all knackered because of a hard season, whereas I think some of the European clubs have it much easier. So I think we need a bit more depth because, and I think I said exactly the same with Klopp and Liverpool, you need depth. If you want to go far in the Cups and the Champions League, and play a hard Premier League season, and this season will be harder than ever, you need depth, and I think we need a few more bodies.
Well, Simon Majowski 2 hours ago, Rich, said the closing on Doku, which will mean the end for Palmer.
Yeah, if Palmer wants to go, he wants first team football, he'll choose.
I mean, humongous put Tommy Doyle, Howard Bellis, they're going to go as well. Howard Bellis in discussions with Forest at a 12 to 15 million pound. Tommy Doyle isn't good enough for City, I'm afraid. This is the problem. Same with McAtee. And the other thing is, what everyone's forgot is you're only allowed, I don't know if you know this, Pete, but you're only allowed 8 loan players now to go out.
Yeah, if it's something like that.
So the problem is you've got City have already got, I think, 6 of them with Cancelo, because Cancelo will be alone. Perón's alone. Yankutsu's alone. Luis Esperan's alone. Abori, I can't remember the guy's name, who's gone to Luton. He's on loan. So this is why they can't loan Palmer and McAtee anymore. They're out of loan options. So what they have to do is it has to be a sell with them. That's why Pep said it's either sell or we keep, because they're out of loan spaces. So sadly, it's I think Palmer and McAtee will both go with a buyback. I think,
and we've never really made loaning work that way. I think the players have succeeded more when we've sold them.
Is McAtee a bad thing if he went and had 2 years at Ajax playing proper football at a proper level in the Champions League, and then we had a buyback on him? See how he really develops at a top club like Ajax.
But look what's happened with Lavia.
It's a chance to take, I suppose.
It is, but
we've had the chance to go for Lavia and we've chosen not to, and we had the chance to keep him and we've chosen not to. I mean, it does come back ultimately to what Pep thinks, and you've seen it with Foden and we've seen it with Rico Lewis, that when Pep thinks they're right, they're integrated, they're given 6-year contracts and everything else. And in a way, Martin, I think selling's better than loaning, because most of the players we've loaned over years have not done anything, whereas when you sell a player, it's in that club's interest to really make them better. And, had we loaned Lavia to Southampton, maybe he wouldn't be a £55 million player today. And we've got 22 million or something of that come to us for a player who played, one Carling Cup game, and we got 22 million for him. I mean, we're just raising so much money through the academy. I think the one I'm sad about in a way is Bellis, because I think he's a good player, and I don't know why he couldn't be, our fifth. I mean, maybe it's because he wants first team football again, but I don't see why he couldn't be.
Play? I was thinking about it. I've been watching him at Burnley last year. I went back and looked. I don't think he can do the playing the ball out from the back, and that's his problem.
Yeah, maybe.
He's a great
there's
defender,
obviously
as
something.
in
Yeah.
head the ball away. It's like Pete, you've got defenders up there that are big, strong, head the ball away and get rid. Our defenders have to be silky footballers.
Mm-hmm.
They can't just be get in and get the ball away. I think that's how Bellis's issue.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah,
I think he's a great defender, not a silky. Look at Vardio. Vardio's been brought in because he can invert into midfield and play 4 different positions.
Can I ask, do we think Pep's got it wrong in some respects? Because he's now saying, I want to keep Palmer, but is it too little too late? Do you know what I mean? Like, has he got it wrong?
I think he's paying him lip service.
Yeah, I feel that's the way. Do you know what I mean? I just think it's a little bit too late from Pep. You know, I mean, I just feel there are very good players in our academy that could get more first team football, but we don't seem to integrate them properly. And you can say Rico, you can say Foden, but neither of them have nailed down a starting position. That's my argument when it comes down to we've got very good players from the academy, but we don't seem to be able to integrate them into this team properly. And that just worries me. Yes, we're making lots of money, Rich. It's fantastic. You know, I have to sell these players, but I think we all want to see a homegrown player make it into the team, into the first 11 and win big.
I'd rather keep Palmer than sign Docky.
I don't think we're going to get that. Listen, I would love nothing more. You probably do, Pete, getting one of your own in there.
Yep.
But the problem is, it's that fine balance in it between still winning trophies, still competing at the top end and getting your lads in. I think the gap between EDS and the first team is so huge now. And you know, the other issue is, I think some of the EDS lads, they're not patient enough anymore. Look at James Trafford. Play me, I'm going. I see you, then you're off. That's the problem. Sancho, they want to play straight away. They haven't got the patience anymore to wait a year, develop. They don't want to come in and play 10 games of 20 minutes. I don't know why. Maybe it's the success at EDS. I don't know. It's a weird one, but not many of them.
Yeah. There's also an age. There's also an age thing, Martin. Rico Lewis is 18, and he's doing that. Palmer's got 21 now. I think even Oscar Bob's like 20, isn't he now? So it's one thing when you're 18, if you're coming in and out the team, you're still at your absolute beginning of your career. When you get to 21, there are a lot of top established players with 100, 150 games under their belt at 21. So you are at a stage where, Palmer will want to be starting 30 plus games in a season. And I think if he thinks that would happen at City, he'd stay. He's a Wythenshawe lad. But if he doesn't think he's going to get 30 starts, if he thinks he's going to get 20 games off the bench at 21, you have to make a call. Rico's 18, so I think it's a different kettle of fish. He's 3 years younger.
Sorry to jump in. Do you think Rico helped because he jumped that EDS stage? I know he played 2 or 3 games max, but he basically jumped a whole age group to get there. And I think that's probably got him more patience, a bit more time.
I think it's mentality. Sorry?
Out of all the ones we've got rid of, who would you go, damn, that was a mistake? I can't think of any. Because I'll be honest with you, I don't think Lavia is ready for Chelsea or Liverpool. I think that is crazy at 60 million. Listen, he was decent, but Southampton got relegated. He wasn't pulling trees up.
You can't take one player, Martin, out of a relegated team. No, look at Aki. Look at Aki. Aki went down with Bournemouth. We bought him.
Right.
And look what happened.
You think Lavia is worth 60 mil?
Not right now. I don't believe he is. No, I think
he's definitely not worth that much.
He's not worth that.
Chelsea Liverpool level.
I think he's a I think at the moment he would probably fit better into this team than Kevin Phillips does.
Yeah, but if he's fighting for the 90 minutes a season game time Phillips gets, he's not going to progress, is he?
Yeah, he's not got the biggest fight on there, has he?
Yeah,
No, like I can't think of any who've gone away and done well.
I think Sancho did well when he left, but obviously he went to Dortmund. I'm not talking about his United since he's gone to United. I'm talking about when he went to Dortmund, he did very well. I think the big problem is what he did.
Are we Dortmund level, Ozzy? That's the point I'm trying to make. I know what you're saying about Dortmund, but when he got to the big club, he's off a cliff.
I think the problem is he went to United. I don't think it's that. I think if he'd gone to a Chelsea or a Liverpool, I think it would have been a different outcome for him. But I think because the state of United are in.
I mean, I can go Jaden Braff. No. There's no one left I actually go, wow, we made a mistake. That's the other side of the coin. I don't think there isn't anyone. I'm with Alec where I go, that's a mistake.
And I think Lavia had one giant problem, and that is, for me, Rodri is the best player in the world in that position. He's our most important player, and our whole team's built around him. And this is Phillips' problem. I think anyone who we have, be it a youth player, be it Phillips, be it Kovacic or anyone, is not going to be as good when they come and play for Rodri, and the fans are going to see that. So I think it's a giant problem for City. I think we need backup for Rodri, and Rodri himself has said he played too much last season. But when you take Rodri out of our team, start to worry. It's a bit like taking a steering wheel out of a car, and we've got to figure out how to get someone in who can play 25 games in Rodri's position and be happy with it, but at the same time not lower the quality of the team. That's nigh on impossible.
I mean, there's a question there. I'm just trying to think where it's gone. I mean, where's it gone? I'll come back to it. Well, a lot of your fans have been priced out of the stadium. You mean City fans or Newcastle? David, let us know.
It's a relevant question for both.
I think, Pete, obviously things have changed up at Newcastle for you.
Yeah.
You now do a lovely ballot.
We're doing the ballot, yeah.
We're not quite there yet.
Mm-hmm.
Well, we don't do that, as we talked earlier. We do loyalty points.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we've got the ballot. We've got loyalty points. I think they're trying to get the ballots in for the away games. Tell some fans that never got a chance to go to away games a chance this time.
Yeah. Tosin's a good one. Tosin Adebayor. What's it called? Tosin. Yeah, go on. Tosi Bambi. I called him Bambi on ice. Brahim Diaz. Would you say he's done well? Would you have Brahim Diaz back in the City team right now?
He's done well at AC Milan.
But would
He's
you
better than he was.
He's
better than, yeah. He's not good enough.
Would you?
No.
No,
but he's better.
I think when people say success is, who would you look at who's left City and gone, right, they're getting the City team right now? That's the problem. Then sub them.
This is when you're supposed to say Leroy Sané, Ozzy.
Oh, get off.
I was going to, mate, but
no, Leroy Sané. No. He's back at Madrid. He was on loan. So why AC Milan not bought him? Anyway, James Trafford could end up possibly. No, that could be one. That might be the first one.
But if we sign him back, then that's the thing. We still get all these clauses in the contracts to sign them back for a fixed fee. So if they do become world class, we buy them back.
World class. Everyone's world class. I love this world class tag.
If a City youth player goes, no. But what I'm saying, Martin, is if Trafford goes and he does become the England goalkeeper in 3 years' time, and he proves world class, then we can go and re-sign him. And it might mean we've paid £30 million for his development, but that development wouldn't happen at City because he wouldn't be getting game time. So that's the gamble we take.
Mind you, it's only today I was hearing that we've had interest in both of our goalkeepers. So could have lost both.
Yeah, there is.
With the right money.
Ortega looks like he's staying.
Isn't De Gea going to Bayern?
I don't. It looks. Owen Edison is going nowhere. Yeah. By the way, our match tickets are a little bit high, but our season tickets are probably the cheapest around for the brand of football we do. I'm paying. My son's season ticket is £100 and my ticket is, I mean, it's in the family stand, so you're all laughing. Is about 500 and odd. But even to go in the Colin Bell, it's under 1,000. So to watch that brand of football. Martin, thank you, Lee Gates, for your lovely super chat. Much appreciated. Martin, was the lack of creative concerning last night, and do we think Paqueta and Doku will make a difference? Do we think those two, and we are done? I don't think the lack of creativity was concerning. The fitness for me was concerning. Because I think Kovacic, Bernardo, and Foden will cover us when we get Paqueta done. Paqueta, I think, and Doku will make a big difference. And do I think we're done? There's the question I went on. Rich, Ozzy, Pete, I'll grab your opinion on this. Are we done after Doku and Paqueta, do you think?
Depends who's. I think it depends who's available. I think Pep has hinted he wants 3 players.
That's what I got.
Yeah, I think we need the body, but I think it's like with anything. I think there's times when City will sign a player if that player's available, but they won't go and sign someone for the sake of it. So I suspect if there is a third player, there'll be a player in mind, and if we don't get that player, we won't go and sign someone else just for the sake of it. But if it's someone who's in the long-term plans of the club, maybe, that we'll see 3 come in. And I'd be interested to see whether that's, what position that third player's in.
Sorry, can I ask where Joe's got his thing from? Where Joe's put here, at least he was in the City Academy when? He was in the Reading Academy.
Michael Alicia. City.
Never been in our academy. He was in the Reading Academy and then went to Crystal Palace. Because I'm looking here on the City website and nope, no Alicia in there, mate.
Now, according to, you can't trust it, but on Wikipedia it has him as being in the City Academy 16 and 17.
Put Archie on Wikipedia and put Ozzy into the City Academy.
Well, no, we can find out. Based on that, he was with Chelsea till 16 and he was with City for 1 year. But I don't know. I mean, that's 6 years ago. So I've got no idea. Actually.
Great question, Pete. Your academy.
Yep.
Do you have a strategy for yours, or do you think you're going to look at our model and use it as your FSR? And by the way, when I say FSR, it's the new FFP. I'm not confusing everyone. FFP.
Because we've now brought Elliot Anderson through the ranks now. He's in the first team now. So I think they're more looking at how they do on the loan spells. Because, as I mentioned, we have done it with Elliot Anderson. He's had at least a loan or 2 spell away. He's now in the first team, so he's been given his chance. I think we're now possibly looking to give Lewis Miley now a chance as well. Possibly Alex Murphy, but we'll wait and see. I know some are still getting what I think, because it's just to get them experience, because these are kind of players for the future, aren't they? We bought Goran Koyal. We sent him out on loan again. We bought that Minte as well. He's out on loan. So again, it's players for the future.
Yeah. Um,
I think so. Well, Beer's just put it in there. It's like the Brighton strategy.
right. Oh, that's a good point. I mean, it's going to be interesting to watch where Newcastle's strategy goes in the next 5 years. Because, like Rich said, you're sort of building from the floor up, aren't you?
Yeah.
You're also going because Ashley left you in such dire straits. You're really going from the ground up.
Yeah.
And that's why I said I think it's about enjoying the journey. If you're in Newcastle,
Well, that's it. Just enjoy. Forget all the what happened with the previous ownership in the past. All the managers, the good managers, have loved
to one.
Yes, but I forgot to do it, and now they're all burnt, and then they're burnt.
What on earth?
Sorry, Rich is having a domestic with one of his children at the moment.
Yeah.
No, was it right? No, that's fine then. Listen, well
No.
done. That's good
Yeah.
knowledge by you, mate, Joel.
I forgot
I did not know that. I did. Man City for life, says it here. He was at City.
Yeah.
By the way, big up to Lelisi for turning his back on Chelsea and staying at
Palace.
yeah.
Yeah.
I was saying before, man. Yes, you're right. To just enjoy the ride as we're going along. Just now, we could put the past ownership in the past now. Ship sailed, along with the other crap managers we've had and all the crap stuff we've had run at this football club as well.
Yeah. Anyway, I think we're going to close it there. What I want to say is big thank you to Tony earlier. Big thank you to Pete. Where can you find your mates?
Down there, that's my channel, PD Proudlock. I'll be back tomorrow with a crazy football show. And my co-host is doing the watch along on Saturday.
Yep. Rich, thank you for joining us. You go and sort out your burning kitchen or whatever you need to do.
I will do. Yeah, go and stop the fire. You can see me rushing with my, fire hydrant to go and put it out.
Rich is going to go and do a presentation now about why the death of football is a good thing and fans don't give a crap.
No, I think, Martin, you need to understand there's a difference between things I agree with and things I think are reality.
Are we ever going to get Rich the fan on here? Are we ever going to get Rich the fan coming onto the shows?
Yeah, but we do.
Dinosaur.
When I talk about us wanting to get relegated to the non-league and be the first Champions League winner playing in the National League, that's Richard the fan.
Yeah.
I take it all back to the 1980s.
Humongous, to be fair, she did spend I think it was about a week to 10 days down here going through everything, which that's the good, it's good strategy. Ozzy, thank you for joining us, mate.
Yeah, good to be on, guys.
I know it's been a bit different. There has been a bit of barge in the chat. Let's keep it nice and steady. We'll be back now Saturday after the game. The game is at 8 o'clock. I have to do some filming after the game on Saturday or something that I'm not allowed to say anything about at the moment. Just wait and see. It will be announced when it's announced. But we'll be live probably around about... I'm trying to think when we can do it because it's going to be midnight. 8:45, 9, probably about 11-ish. If that's too late on a Saturday, I understand. If not, because I'd say Sunday night, but I'm out Sunday completely. I'm going to the Yorkshire Dales. I'm going to the Lake District with my mother and father, taking them out. So I'm not here Sunday. So we'll try and do it Saturday night. It will be a late one, but yeah, I presume everyone will still be up. We'll try and get it on. I'll do a YouTube short and some TikTok stuff at the game, as we normally do, team news, etc. And may the best team win. And Manchester City will by getting that 3-1 win. I'm not like Mr. Sourpuss down here. 1-1, scared of everything. Screw it, we're winning. We're the champions of England, champions of Europe. Sorry, Pete. Your boys are taking one hell of a pelleting on Saturday night.
We'll wait and see. We'll wait and see what happens. It's going to be a great game, though.
Reality, mate.
We'll see, won't we?
Bloody hell. Ozzy's going back up with the Newcastle fans on Saturday night. He's going, hey, season to get older. I mean, what it is we've won everything at City now. So Ozzy's tapped out and joining someone else.
I'm joining Pete's channel. You don't mind, do you, mate?
How much we getting? Pete, we'll have to just sort out transfer fees here. By the way, thank you for all the lovely comments underneath the things. For everyone who thinks Martin's a know-it-all and has to be always right, thank you. I love it. I do. I do laugh at a lot of the comments. It's quite funny now. It used to bother me. It doesn't anymore. Anyway, thank you to all the Newcastle fans. Have a great weekend. We will see you then. We'll be back Saturday night. And then next week, I've got a bit of a show idea that I need to speak to everyone about that somebody requested in the comments. So we will see. Oh, hang on. Before we go, Mr. Pessimist is here. Just woke up. There we go. City will struggle this weekend. City are crap. Don't worry. Alan will be back on the channel soon. Don't worry. Anyway, take care all, and we'll see you on the next one. Smash those likes on the way out. Bye when I find the exit. Bye.